Hey allies, Granblue Fantasy Relink is out and is running fantastically well on the ROG Ally. At 900p and 25 watt profile, this is definitely the best way to play, but I am using the standard preset, which is actually the lowest graphics preset for the initial test, and we are getting around 40 to 50 frames per second in most cases. But with AMD's Motion Fluid Frames using the latest AMD driver side-loaded, we've got a guide for that in the comments below if you want to figure out how to do that. But without it, it really does depend on the area. For a lot of the time, you are going to be down in the 30 to 40 range, which is unfortunate because that means the variable refresh rate on the Ally won't kick in. But with AMD's Motion Fluid Frames enabled, this does push it up to 60 to 90 frames per second a lot of the time. Now, one of the things I did find that with the Motion Fluid Frames enabled, because it pushes it up that much higher most of the time, I was also able to put up the graphics quality to high, and this made things just look so much nicer overall. Now, in heavy battle scenes, as you're going to see here, that AMD's Motion Fluid Frames does drop down somewhat and can dip as low as 30 as it disables if things are getting a little bit too hectic. But for the most part, you didn't even notice that it was enabled and you just got a super smooth image. And with that variable refresh rate at the 60 FPS mark, it is absolutely smooth on the Ally's screen. It took quite a lot for it to actually knock out the Motion Fluid Frames, and in a heavy boss fight here and one of the cutscenes, you see it dip down into that 40 frames per second mark, but for the most part it is staying up there. There was no blur and didn't really notice any input latency. The only time I did notice a little bit of stutter is when we had all of the sword art skills going off one after the other. It did dip down into the 30s very briefly, but because there isn't a huge amount going on the screen at that time, you didn't really notice the drop that much. Only because I was watching that frames per second just to see what happened is the only reason why I noticed it. Overall though, I've been having a great time playing Granblue Fantasy Relink, so if you are on the fence whether to pick this one up, it's definitely worth a go. I'm a good few hours into this now, you're seeing some chapter 4 footage, and it is very addictive. AMD's Motion Fluid Frames is making a huge difference on the ROG Ally. I can't wait for the Ally official drivers, but if you are wanting to sideload it and not use the ASUS overlay, as I'm having to use the AMD Radeon version here, then you will get great benefits in a lot of the games. Let us know in the comments below if you're going to be diving into this game and what your experience with Motion Fluid Frames has been so far. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.